I'd like to invite everyone to stand for the pledge to our flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I want to welcome everyone tonight to the Elkton Town meeting. Great crowd again tonight. Only standing room only, I think. This is great. A couple of things that we're going to, just to make sure that everyone's aware of it, every time we get new faces, I just want to make you aware that we have a sign-in sheet. The sign-in sheet is for the purpose of us to get your name and address. I'm going to, if you didn't sign the list, I'm going to still recognize you if you want to speak. Try to keep it on topic, and I would like to invite you up to the microphone to speak and give me your name and your address. It makes it a little bit better for us when we're doing the minutes, so we can get all the documentation down correctly when we do that. And also, I want to have your face on video so you can share it a little bit like we are up here also. I actually asked Michelle earlier in the week, I said, is there any way that we could actually take the microphone to you and spin the camera around, but that was a little bit too, we need a 2 or 3 camera shoot and that wasn't going to happen. So I will, when we get to the public comment time, I'm going to invite you up and you can certainly speak on topic. At our last meeting, we had some profanity that was being used. I will not tolerate any more profanity from the public when you're addressing this board. So please try to keep it on topic, and you can talk, quite frankly, as long as you want, as long as it's for the good of the town of Elkton. Thank you with that. All righty. Minutes of the September 3rd meeting. Do we have a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
We got a motion. Do we hear a second?
Second.
We got a second. Any discussion regarding the minutes? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. Financial report. Do we have a motion to approve the financial report and payment of the bills?
So moved.
We have a motion
Second.
and a second. Any discussion on the financial report?
No.
The only comment I'd like to make is I am starting to see more by Elkton on the financial report. So I know that the town staff is doing a great job trying to buy as much as they can locally, and starting to move that way. And I really appreciate it, and I'm sure our residents and our business owners of the community really enjoy that also. All in favor? Aye. Motion carries. Okay, Mr. Repo, I think we got a budget amendment.
Yes, I have one budget amendment tonight. It's the fiscal year 2014 budget amendment number 2014-012. It's to recognize 2 program open space grants for our Parks and Recreation Department. $24,000 for a dog park in East Meadow Park and $28,000 for a playground at the same location. $52,000 in total in revenue from program open space.
Very good. Do we have a motion to approve budget amendment 2014-012?
So moved.
We have a motion
Second.
and a second. Any discussion? Real quickly, having this budget amendment, we didn't put any of this revenue in the budget for this past fiscal year. We're adding it to it now. But
Actually, the first one, $24,000 was budgeted in FY13. However, when we received the money, it was such a wet spring, we weren't able to complete the project until fiscal year 2014.
Okay.
It had never been recognized in 2014 as revenue and expenditures. Then later on, in the playground, that was put next to the dog park.
Very good.
They weren't recognized in 2014. They are now, after going through the final accruals and deferrals for the close of this fiscal year.
Very good. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay, we got Mr. Ken Benner. He's going to come up and give us the water and wastewater treatment services report for the months of, I think, July and August. How you doing, Ken?
Well, good, Mayor. How are you doing?
Doing fantastic.
Excellent. Good evening, Commissioners. Yeah, things are going good at the plants. I'd like to give you a brief summary of what's been happening at the water and wastewater treatment plant and the collection and distribution system. I'd like to go over some numbers with you briefly. The month of July, we did real well. Actually, no violations, it's perfect. We BOD average going out of the plant was 6.4, suspended solids is 2.3, total nitrogen, which I'd like to brag about, was 1.7 milligram per liter, which was very good. Phosphorus going out of the plant was averaging 0.14, so excellent numbers there. Some of the highlights, I think maybe I mentioned last time I saw you that we've been painting at, doing some painting at the water treatment plant, trying to address some of the rusting of the tanks because of their age. So we've done quite a bit of work on that. We're looking at getting a quote from some serious painters to finish the whole job. So we're going to get some two or three bids for you guys to look at. That's been going on. The Bell Hill Tower, it is online by itself right now. We're not. We took it. We discontinued pumping continually to it. We've been involved in doing testing up there at the reservoir with artesian. Quite frankly, we've been up there, done 4 different tests, and we still haven't been unable to. Artesian's been unable to provide the town with the contracted amount of 1.5 million gallons per day. We've been up there 4 times now, and they have not been successful. And
So what does that mean? Help me understand what that means.
okay, the way it looks to me, my opinion on this is that their pumping station supplies water to the town at the reservoir. And they also supply water to Meadowview. And when Meadowview towers require water, their demand is up and they're using water, they're feeding water to Meadowview and here. And it seems that every time we're doing this test, Meadowview towers are down and they're unable to supply us with the required amount of water. Now, in order to supply the town with a 1.5 million, they need to supply you with 1,041 gallons a minute. So it's 1,050 gallons a minute. And they've been unable to do that. One of the reasons why we've been doing this is because we're taking our race out of service. And we're going to supply water to the water treatment plant with a diesel pump.
Okay.
And we wanted to make sure that in the case of emergency, we would be able to get water into the town, the downtown area. We feel that it's even at best, even if they could do that, it's not not necessarily the best way to do it. It's part of a whole plan. And a big part of the plan, in our opinion, is to take the pumping station that is located at the reservoir, that pumps water from the reservoir to Bell Hill Tower. It supplies water to Bell Hill Tower, and it supplies water to Washington Woods Booster Station. We've had this discussion regarding the Bell Hill bidirectional valve and the issues at Patriots Glen. Well, another part of this was to make some minor modifications inside the booster station. And we're probably looking at $1,000 to $1,500 of changes. We need to get some fittings, and we can set it up, and the work can be done in-house, and we can set it up so that this booster station can pump from the reservoir into town. So what that means is, that means you've got 1.8 million gallons in storage that you can pump it into town at a much higher rate than you can if you were to gravity feed it from the reservoir into town. And the reason you can't get the water from the reservoir into town is because the elevation of the reservoir is just a little bit higher than the elevation of Blue Ball Tower. They're almost identical. So you really can't gravity flow from the reservoir into town, now, unless Blue Ball was empty, then you could flow. When we did some time ago, we did flow tests, and we found out that this is like five or 6 years ago, that the flow coming from the reservoir was not that good. It was maybe 600 gallons a minute or something. It was very low. And at that rate, you would not be able to keep Blue Ball full. Now, Blue Ball supplies water to the downtown area, but it also supplies water to the Walnut Hill area, the Walnut Tower, Walnut Estates. So Blue Ball Tower supplies a pretty large area. So if you can get the water, you need to be able to get the water from the reservoir, because you've got so much there in storage, you need to get it into town. So you have 2 pumps located in the pumping station at the reservoir. I call it Bell Hill Booster Station. There's 2 pumps there, and one is always a standby pump. So we use one pump, only one pump usually always to feed enough water to Bell Hill Tower and to Washington Woods. So this other pump is sitting there, and all we need to do is install a valve and put in a T and put in a fire hydrant. We can run a line temporarily in minutes' notice to the hydrant and pump water at 800 gallon a minute with one pump in the town. I really strongly recommend this. Really, the sooner the better. I mean, because we're getting ready to take the race out of service, and I've been wanting to do this for some time. So I really like to get permission to go forward with this. I've talked this over with Mark at DPW. We've looked at it. We've made a list of the fittings that are needed. We just need permission to do it, really.
I take what you're saying as your profession, you deal with that, but I've heard some negatives about the valves situation, and I would like to have a little bit more input. You've got Mark sitting back here, you have DPW sitting here. I'm not to try to, I would like to hear what's the negative part about putting a valve in, and then find out more information before we move forward expending money on something that may work and may not work. And again, your opinion is very important, but I still would love to hear what DPW has to say about this issue before we just go on that analysis, okay? I mean, do you mind if we call them up?
I think we should.
Okay, and I'm only saying that because we can vote on everything and anything just because somebody say something, but I gotta have facts, to start dealing with things.
Well, I'd like to say this, that, I've had now multiple meetings with DPW at the site, and we've discussed this, we've discussed it even with KCI's people, and I've only gotten positive feedback on this. No one has told me that there's anything negative, but if
Okay, that's not the reason why I'm just want to hear what is the other side of the story, okay? That's all I'm saying.
Mark, can you come up also?
Yeah, and while they're coming up, can I ask a question? You had said earlier, we're not getting the 1.5 million gallons a day.
That's
from
correct.
Artesian.
That's right.
Do you have an idea of what we are receiving, whether it's gallons per minute or per day?
Yeah, see, right now, you're required to get, I believe it's 250,000 gallons a day.
Right.
And I forget what that is, GP. Yeah, it's not much. It's only, 60, 70 gallons a minute or something like that? It's not much. So that's 250,000 gallons. We're talking about 1.5 million is what your contract is between Artesian and the town in a case of emergency.
Right.
They're contractual obligated to provide 1.5 million. So typically we only get 250,000 a day from them. So that's a very small amount. They don't have any problem with that amount of water.
Lou, let me ask you a question. Is this something that we should, to me, that's the big picture. If we're not able to get the amount of water in time of need from Artesian, to me, that kind of concerns me here a little bit.
I agree.
The purpose that Ken and Mark have been doing is to determine if we can and what conditions under which we can. And it seems like every time we run a test, there's either an issue with the pressure coming out of Artesian, or they were having an issue with Fletchwood with that, and so we don't know. My next step is, I know they're going to run another test to see if they can get it. But my next step will be to notify Artesian, because they're contractually obligated to provide us up to 1.5 million gallons.
Quite
And that's
frankly,
the,
I think we should put them to the
1,050.
test.
Exactly.
I think we should put them in the test and let's pull 1.5
Well, I will,
million
I'll
gallons.
have to notify them, but I was hoping that we could have a test done to determine that, because I need to go to them and say we run.
I think we're all on the
2
same
tests,
page.
3 tests, whatever, and we can't seem to.
How many tests have been run already? Four tests.
The last test we did, we were getting 840 gallons a minute.
Speak in the mic, please. Thank you, sir.
The last test we did, we were getting 840 gallons a minute. I was in contact with Artesian, Willie Owens, and he said that they were flushing hydrants at Meadowview, which they shouldn't have been doing because they drove through their tower down. It was all coordinated, but they did it, they made a mistake and they did it. So he told me that, because I told him as a contractor, you're supposed to be able to give us this, and he said that if they can't get it with the pumps they have a valve in Meadowview from United Water that they can open up and give it to us. So Wednesday, we're supposed to do a test. And if we can't get it, he's supposed to do that.
Okay,
And then we'll know more, can we get it or can't we get it?
okay.
If we can't get it, you know, what Ken's saying, then we ought to do it.
Okay, now, back to the question about the valve. Now, here's what, I guess my concerns have been about the valve, and if it'll work for us, fantastic, and I'm ready to move forward with it. I know that we've had some water pressure issues in the Patriots Glen neighborhood, and we believe that this valve will help the homes of Patriots Glen. But I guess where I come back to is there's multiple homes there that had the pumps when they were initially built, that these pumps were supposed to be turned on and kicked in and for that pressure. But if we can do it and they don't have to use them pumps, I'm okay with it. But what does it affect? How does it affect the other neighborhoods or the other areas? I guess that's where I need some help at.
Well, there's two issues here, okay?
Okay.
Okay, you're talking right now about the altitude, the bidirectional valve.
And that's probably where I'm confused at.
Okay, that will correct the pressure problems and the fire flow problems in Patriots Glen. Because it's not just a pressure issue in Patriots Glen as well. I mean, you have like pressure drops when they're solely on a tower at the higher elevations in Patriots Glen. I don't know if they have booster pumps or not in their house.
Okay.
I'm not privy to that, but I had people complain. That's what I know. So, and that the reason is because the elevation of Bell Hill Tower and elevations in Patriots Glen, there's not a big differential between the two. So, you know, that's why you have low pressure, but it not only affects the pressure in the houses, but it also affects your pressure at the fire hydrants, which affects your fire flow.
Which is
So,
important.
which is important. So when we were on the tower, we went out, we took fire flows at the hydrants at these locations at the higher elevations, and we got between 500 and 600 gallon a minute, which is very low. And the pressure, we saw pressure dips, and we have little recorders, because we have the pressure recorders at the hydrants, and we have graphs showing the pressure was dropping down as much as 20 psi, and that's really too low. Now, maybe they have booster pumps in their house, I don't know, and I would hope they would, because 20 psi is not adequate.
Okay.
But that's an issue in itself. What I'm talking about right now is the booster station at the reservoir. And what we're saying is that you have two pumps there. In a case of emergency, if we install some fittings in this pump house, and I believe $1,500, $1,000 to $1,500 would allow you to get these fittings, we could have that pump pumping water from the reservoir, that 1.8 million gallons, in a matter of minutes into the town zone, okay? So let me give you a scenario. Say we've got the race down. Say we're pumping water with the diesel pump. Say something happens to that diesel pump. Now we gotta go get another diesel pump. And we call up Artesian, and they can't give us the water that we need because they're sending water to, because Meadowview is flushing hydrants, or their towers are down, and they're pumping water to Meadowview, and now someone's gotta go pump it. you call us up to water plant, say, we need, well, we're monitoring Blue Ball Tower, and it's dropping, and it's, 25 feet in the tower. All we gotta do is go to the reservoir and close the gate valve, open up this valve, and open up the hydrant, and we'll have 1.8 million coming into town in 15 minutes.
Okay.
That's what I'm talking about, that's,
But the valve, if we start with it, it's not that expensive, but we can't shut the water off in the reservoir and coming in downtown. We also gotta spend another $10,000 to stop this water so we can tie it in.
you mean to install valves?
Install.
Do it in our house, well,
Well, we get Fox tapping and stop the
and
flow.
they will 10,000 for that?
5,000 of that.
Well, we could go there overnight and do it ourselves.
But there are houses up in Patriot that do have pressure pumps.
Yes.
And there's also houses that have pressure reducers on their lines. I got a call today from a house that said they had no water pressure on John Avenue. I was out there about a year ago, and they had the same problem. I went in, we had all the pressure water coming in. When it hit their pressure reducer, that's where they had a problem. They called plumbers, they fixed it, and they were good.
Okay.
So there's, some houses have too much pressure in the pressure room, and some don't have enough. That's why they were built that way with pumps.
Okay, I have two quick questions. Going back to it's an altitude valve, right? Okay, with that, with the pressure and stuff, you had mentioned the fire hydrants. Are you saying that without that altitude valve, that the fire hydrants, forget about the houses for a second, but the fire hydrants themselves will not operate properly?
What I'm
Or
telling you-
flow properly?
What I'm telling you is that the fire flow at the higher elevations through Patriots Glen, we flow tested them, and they flow test between 500 and 600 gallons a minute.
And they need to be 800?
They should be 1,000, they should be 1,500.
Answers my question on that. The scenario that you gave, if something happens, we have to turn off the water, the diesel pump, you have to change out, get another diesel engine to pump everything down here. Would that execute anything with Artesian? As far as now we're drawing more than 250,000 gallons? Would that execute another clause?
No, your minimum take is 250,000 gallons a day.
Or we're paying for one?
You can pay for every 1,000 gallons. But
So
you
we
can
pay
take
more
up
there.
1.5 million from their system. Well, we
And that would-
have a problem with, hopefully, if they can open the United Water valve in Fletchwood to satisfy that issue, we can get our thing. We need to, I have to notify them officially. But they need to set up a protocol for us in order to supply that. Their operations people hadn't anticipated.
The contract, when I was looking at it, was extremely worded, and I'm not a lawyer. But every time we hit or exceed a certain amount of gallons, it sets a new benchmark for us. Is that right?
No,
No? I read that wrong?
no, the old days it did, but not the new days. The new
Okay.
days is doing 50,000 gallons a day, and it always sinks back to that minimum take.
Okay.
To trigger a higher take.
That's all I have.
Well, I want to comment on the fire flow.
Mike.
When you did your, when you did your flow out there, was the reservoir pumps, shouldn't they both come on if you opened it up if you?
Okay, let me get that. We did fire flow testing with the hydrants only on Bell Hill Tower and the pumps off at the reservoir, at the booster station. And the fire flow at the hydrant, I believe on the top of Thomas Jefferson, flowed at 600 gallons a minute on the tower. We put the pumps on, with both pumps on, the way we had them set up, with using the bidirectional valve, and we were to get 950 gallons a minute with the booster station on.
With the pump on, we were getting, that's what I wanted to say.
Well, let me ask this question. Lou and Mark and Dan and Ken, can you guys have a recommendation to us on which way we want to go on this? I agree with you. We gotta move on and make this safe for the community and vote on this valve or look at Plan B in some way. But if you guys could give us your recommendation in writing, And Lou, get us something over, and if we have to call a special meeting to make this happen, we'll call a special meeting and get this thing on board.
How soon do you need a decision on the valves, the $1,000 to $1,500 that we would have to spend on?
I'd like to do it immediately. I'd like to order the fittings and try to get them here as soon as possible and get that done.
We need it, Mark.
Well, like I said, if we can't stop the flow, it's another $10,000.
We can isolate the flow. Let's, wait a minute, we have the valves on the lines coming from the reservoir. And if we did it at night, but we'd have to dig it up with a backhoe and install a valve. He's talking about having a company come in and do a wet tap, install a valve without closing the valves at the reservoir. We can isolate the line coming from the reservoir that we're talking about.
You want to come and shoot it too, and it's, we'll have to drain it, it'd have to be at night, it'd have to be in 3 hours or more.
Well, there's 2 lines coming from the reservoir. We're only talking about tapping one line. We wouldn't shut off the other one. And we also got that Blue Ball Tower would feed the town. It'll be full and it'll be flowing back up towards the reservoir, so.
Well, I can tell you, all the information you're giving us is fantastic information, but I can't make that determination without, let's all be in agreement here, and then I think we can move in a direction.
If we need it, let's do it.
Because I'm not, I can tell you that, that's not my expertise.
Well, definitely, if Artesian can't give it to us, we need to do something.
Yes, and that's where I see, I think that's the tell-all right there. But I would be ready to go, move forward with this immediately, and maybe we can get down there and discuss. Luke, can you get us something, what your recommendation is going to be, and we'll
I don't need the board's, the booster pump, piping modifications, I don't need the board to decide that, we'll decide that.
Okay.
Because that wouldn't be any bigger expense than putting a pump in, or fixing a water main break.
Okay.
So we don't need that, the burn need, the altitude valve, is $10,000 valve, that we probably need to look at more closely.
very good.
That more or less addresses my negative part about the issue about hooking the valve and everything. So if we can come to a decision on the best way of handling that, and because it's needed, then, like I said, we can move forward. So I appreciate that.
Any other good news?
Well, we had an inspection at the wastewater treatment plant that, well, we had it all week and it finished today and it was pretty intensive, but it went real well. And one good thing is that the Public Works installed the flapper valve on the storm drain at the wastewater treatment plant, and everybody's very happy about that. They did an excellent job on that. It looks great. And we also had an inspection last week at the water treatment plant. It was like back to back. It was pretty intense. So, but that went well too. So
Very good.
that's good news.
I know at some point, one of the first weeks that I came on board, we discussed in-house a little bit about doing a water audit and trying to find out if we're losing water throughout our system, if we have places that are using water that may not be paying for that water. But at some point, I think we need to get this thing up and running, because I believe that our residents, and I'm going to grandstand here a little bit, are paying too much for our water and sewer, and I strongly believe that. And I think the board in general feels that way. And I think that if we could find, and we have to get our heads together on this, whether it's Dan and Mark and Ken and Steve and Lewis and Michelle, the whole team, we got to figure out where some of this loss of water is going. And I think if we can get on that as quickly as we can, it'll be a savings and a benefit to all. I think even with flow issues, I tend to believe if we've got bad lines and we're seeping product out the wrong way, I think we'll lose pressure. But I think what I'd like to kind of do is, I mentioned, I think it's going to have to come from your office, Steve. I think you guys are going to have to lead the charge here, because you have all the accounts, you have all that information, and I think it's going to have to be a coordinated effort with Public Works as well as Severn Trent to make this happen. And I think that maybe you guys could call an in-house meeting here in the near future and find out how we can put this all together. And I continue to say, if we need more bodies to make this happen, we've got to get it, because it's gone on long enough, and it's a lot of water that this water audit showed. And I think it's a tremendous savings to the town residents if we can get this thing under control. And we may not be losing water. We might be losing water as to fires. You know, the other night we had a serious fire in the town of Elkton, and I don't know how many gallons. We don't know how many gallons was used at the putting out the fire on Osage. I don't know. It could have been 100,000, 200,000, 300,000. I don't know. I don't know those calculations, but I'd like to know. But we need to get on that, as we were talking about water. So hopefully, in the upcoming weeks, I'll see some type of little meeting going on that we can address that. Anything else, sir?
Well, sometimes on missing water, there's like different approaches, but, sometimes you need equipment, like leak detection equipment to to survey your distribution system to see where your pipes are leaking. Maybe you can find that out.
And tell us what we need. I know Mark mentioned to me earlier today, he said there's a piece of equipment, you put it into the water main, and it goes by sound where the leak is, and it kind of pinpoints right to the point where the possible leak is. And we've got some very old infrastructure in this town, as we're all aware of, and it's just hasn't been updated over the last 200 years or 250 years or whatever we had through here with the maybe 150. But it's there's a lot of issues with that, and we recognize that. I think we all recognize that. But we're going to do it.
Good.
Thank you, Ken.
Thanks, Ken.
All righty, Union Hospital. Ladies, please come up and state your name and your addresses for the minutes. And smile at the camera over there one time so we can see you. All right, there you go.
We have our Orioles gear on today, by the way.
Very nice. Division champs.
That's right. Hi, good evening. I'm Cheryl Guth. I'm an attorney with the law firm of McGuire Woods in Baltimore, and I act as bond counsel to the town of Elkton. And I'm Lori Byer. I'm the CFO at Union Hospital, and we're really happy to be here. A lot of familiar faces from 2 years ago. I'll kick off the request, and then I'll turn it over to Cheryl when it gets to some of the technical questions. But as a result of what's happening in the market in regards to interest rates, we've recognized that we have some debt on our books, approximately $31 million that we use to finance our inpatient tower and our parking garage, which I know that some of you actually use on a daily basis, Louis.
And I pay.
And you pay. And so that debt is actually available for a refinancing opportunity. Currently, that debt has a rate of about 5%, and we think we can probably get something close to about 3%, which would be a significant savings for the hospital. Some of that money can come back to the community. So I'm here today to ask for the town of Elkton support if we choose to actually go through the municipalities to issue that debt. As you all know, you all have been a supporter of the hospital in doing that. We recently had a refinancing in 2012 where we issued a significant amount of that debt through the town of Elkton. So I'm just asking for approval that if we choose to do that, that you would support us. And I can just kind of remind you as to the legal nature of the bond financing that Ms. Byer is requesting. These are limited obligations of the town. They're not general obligations of the town, so there's no taxes that support the debt at all. All of the debt gets paid by the hospital, and they also pay all of the expenses of the financing, so the town does not come out of pocket at all. As she indicated, depending upon the structure that they choose, using the town and some other municipalities in the county will allow the bonds to be what's called bank qualified. And that means that if a bank buys the bond, they can give a little lower interest rate to the hospital because they get an extra tax benefit in addition to it being a tax-exempt bond. So that's the real reason why we're coming to the town for some preliminary show of support this evening.
as we get down further into the financing and the structuring, and we know exactly who's going to be asked to issue the bonds, then we would come back for a more formal approval later.
And just from a procedural perspective, RFPs went out to about 25 banks last week. We're anticipating responses probably early October. So probably by the end of October, we'll know whether or not, as Cheryl said, whether there is a differential between this bank qualified capacity that you all have and just going through the bank. As you all know, back in 2012, we did actually use your capacity, and it saved us a significant amount of money. But we're not sure that that will come into play. But again, we just want to get your preliminary support this evening.
Very good. Is there any direct questions from the board on this?
Yes. You said limited obligation, and I'm not real familiar with the ins and outs. I'm familiar with finance, but not this particular situation. So when you say limited obligation, what are those limited obligations to the town?
The limited nature of the obligation, the way the bond is structured, technically the town sells the bond to the bank, and the bank gives the town money. The town then loans that money to the hospital, and then the hospital has to repay that loan. So the town has to repay the bond solely to the extent that the hospital repays the loan. If the hospital doesn't repay, the town is not on the hook in any way. And so that's the limited nature of the obligation.
Does the town make out as far as any interest or anything like that? Does the town make out by helping you at all? Or just that you're a business in town? And
Yes, I mean, I think
Okay.
that's the benefit to the town, is that they're helping a very important institution in the town acquire a lower interest rate on their financing that would otherwise be available if they just went to a direct bank loan.
yeah, I found the tapes on it.
And I actually think the first one was when I served the first time. I think it was in the 90s or...
It was in 2009, I think we had.
Was the
yeah.
first one? Well, I
Yeah.
wasn't here
Or it
then.
might even be prior to my tenure here.
2002.
Yeah.
2002.
Yeah. So is that your picture on the wall over there, by the way?
So that was a very good-looking
He had
guy.
afro. That's when he had afro. Don't look over there.
I'm looking at Lou. He's kind of laughing at me over there. Lou, there's certainly no issues with this. John, no issues with it at all. Do you need Lou, do we need to vote on this or just give a consensus?
Mr. Duke will prepare the legal documents.
I can let you, we'll straw poll. DJ, you won't have, well, we'll see what it brings to the table, but I think in general, our consensus is, we'll be very supportive.
Really appreciate your support.
Thank you. The hospital is very important to us. Thank you for,
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
there's nothing more important. Well, there is a lot more things important. As important. Okay, we got Mr. Jeff Karch with Waste Management. We asked Jeff a couple months ago, and then he went on vacation to the Bahamas and Mexico, and we asked him for, we had discussed about the picking up the grass clippings. Currently, the town of Elkton has a little bit of review. The town of Elkton, we pick up the grass clippings for our residents, and we're happy to do that. But there's going to be some changes in the near future with stormwater management issues where we really can't have those clippings on the pavement or even near the stormwater management drains or storm drains. There's major issues there, and we're going to try to get a little jump on this and to beautify our town. I think that if we could ever get to the point where we never put a grass clipping back onto the street again, I think it's a home run for our community. Not only that, but I know from a man-hour standpoint that hopefully Dan will be able to provide to us at some point when we make a decision. The man-hours are very important here because I know that we are sending time in, time out. We send people and we'll even make calls if they say, well, you missed it, we're going to run back out. So I think the unique thing about the waste management proposal that I took a look at, if we move forward with this, it would be we're going to put the clippings in a container. The container then would be once a week, 37 weeks during that year, 37 consecutive weeks, we would be picking up the grass clippings and removing them. But the clippings themselves would never go onto the streets. They would be picked up by your truck and dumped right in. And along with that, I'm going to let you do the proposal, but I know that along with that, we're going to still offer picking up larger branches and a few other things that I think you'll touch on. So I think I laid the groundwork a little bit. Go ahead and lay it on us.
Yes, my name is Jeff Karch from Waste Management. I'm in the public sector. Thanks for having me here this evening. Let's go over a little bit about it. We based our estimates on roughly 4,500 homes, 4,600 homes. This estimate includes one time a week trash service and one time a week recycling services, which we already provide for the town. We would include 1 week yard waste services and carts only, meaning we would only service it if they were in the carts, and they would be provided or owned by the town of Elkton. There's two options that we felt with Waste Management that would be in the best interests of the town. Prior, I recommended the curbside organics, which we could move into later in a later date, but going forward, this would be a great way to introduce another can and another waste stream. And just go over the options real quick. The first option would be the town would be responsible for purchasing the carts up front before the service is started, and we as a vendor, we could provide third parties for you as well if needed be, and help you design the RFP as well. This would be an extension for a 1-year contract to the contract. Your contract now actually allows you to have a 3-year extension. This would only extend the contract for a year. It would include one time a week trash, one time a week recycle, and as the mayor said, 37 weeks consecutive of carted yard waste, as well as 2 tree removals for the wonderful Christmas season. And that would only increase the rate to $12.06 per unit. The second option, which is Waste Management's recommendation, would be Waste Management will provide the carts as needed for the services, meaning Waste Management would set out an RFP, purchase the cans, and then in return sell back the cans to the town over the contracted period. Again, this would include 1 week trash service, 1 week recycle, one time a week trash, one time a week recycle, and 1 time a week for 37 consecutive weeks of carted yard waste, or toters or cans, whichever you prefer. And this would also include the 2 tree removals. At the end of this term, the town would retain ownership of the carts, and this would only increase it to a $13.61 a unit, which is roughly the same as it is to pay for trash and recycle. So that's the pricing that we came up with based on times, weights, disposal costs, and that's where we stand.
And I think if I did my math correctly, currently we have 2 days a week pickup, and the additional day that we would be providing for our residents for the 37 weeks would be about a third additional cost. So you pretty much have it broken into.
Yeah, we could break that out for you in the specific numbers per waste stream, but it's roughly about the same.
So it was about a third more additional cost, which fell in line with what was going on before, prior to. Dan, what I'm going to need help from you in the next couple weeks. We certainly wouldn't move forward on this this year, but I think looking forward to next spring. But I think what we need from you is how much you think how much it's costing us now for our guys to pick up, because I can say that to me the additional dollar amount was about, let's see, how much was that? About $200,000 more a year.
I have a preliminary
Option two.
It was about, oh, here we go. It was, did you get one of them? You guys want one of them? Okay. It shows about, right at $200,000 more to do this. And it's hard for me to believe that it's not costing us $200,000 or more. Because the way we're doing it today, if I'm not mistaken, we suck it up. We don't really clean it up very well off the streets, quite frankly. We do the best we can, but we don't. If it's wet, if it's raining, we miss that day. It starts to smell, there's odors, it goes down the storm drain, there's a lot of challenges there. But when we pick it up, then we take it to a dumping area, and we dump it. I guess I'm assuming that's so that the water or whatever, I can't quite figure out why we don't take it straight to the dump, but I'm sure there's a reason.
Depends on the situation. Most of the times we do. Depends on the situation. Most of the times we do, but a lot of times to rapid fire to get off the street, we'll take it, leave it someplace that dries out, then we'll take it again to the landfill.
And then we have to haul it again, pick it up, and then haul it away again. And it's just hard for me to believe that there's the cost savings here. I think will be a cost savings, and of course I'm going to try to sell this the best I can to our board here. But I believe that our streets will be cleaner. I believe it's going to be a lower cost to our town. And but you have to show that to me, Dan. You're going to have to show that to us, that it will be lower cost to the town residents.
So far today we have almost 500 tons. And I got a whole bunch of trees sitting in the area I haven't even touched yet, so, from the storm coming.
Yeah, and it's going to allow us to do the things that we can do better.
You have 500 tons, you said?
That's today, that's this year. I'm not even done yet, so.
$25 a ton, so
Last year you had about 680 tons.
the landfill fee?
If it's clean wood chips, it's 15 a ton. If it's just yard waste, it's 25, and if it's logs, it's 69.
Yes.
But I think that you probably just we don't take the logs down there. We just say do not steal, and they're gone within days.
Depends. Depends how long I'm stuck with them, so after a while they disappear.
I would say, I guess I've talked enough. Does anyone from the board have any questions, or?
The ownership of toters, Dan, how many does the town of Elkton own?
How many do we own?
As far as your knowledge, you own.
We own none.
So all of these that they have now belongs to them.
I think he,
In other words, my thinking was, do we have any right now that you wouldn't buy if you took the option of the town provided? You still have to go out and get additional.
it's a different size.
It's a different size can. The yard waste can't be any larger than a 65 gallon due to weight, unfortunately.
Okay,
And the ones that you have now are 96 gallon.
How much, 196?
They're 96 gallon.
Yeah, we've got pretty big ones, and they'd be about half that size, about 2/3 the
Yeah,
size.
they're still pretty big. They hold quite a bit of.
I think that would hold most yard waste, right?
Yes, correct.
And not everyone's gonna need one.
Right. That's correct.
I do have one question, and I know we discussed this a while ago, but when you're saying the yard waste, it's the grass clippings, leaves, what about like what we're putting out now, 6 feet or smaller branches or tree limbs?
We would continue tree limbs.
You would continue
If
tree
it's
limbs?
chippable, as long as it's in the stack, we would continue the tree limbs.
And we would actually accept smaller limbs that are smaller than the wrist or fingers, so twigs and everything like that in there.
If they fit into that container,
Take it.
and with the lid on, you would take it.
As long as it's not a log, and they just chop it up, put logs in everything. What's it?
Very
I'm on
good.
one.
Out of
Yes.
Yes.
there's roughly, by our numbers, there's 4,600 homes. How many homes are really using it?
Realistically,
Yeah.
probably about, I would say about 40%.
So we're talking an increase to people that aren't using this service.
Across the board, yes.
Yeah, that doesn't- Something's not feeling right to me right there. The other thing is, Middletown, I know that was your guinea pig.
Correct.
So far, I know that there was $25 for a penalty if there was a microwave that was in it. or something that shouldn't be in there at all if you dump it out, and that there's a $25 penalty, is that right?
The penalty, I don't necessarily know the correct answer for what the penalty is, but we do have penalties for dumping. So if we contaminate the load,
Right.
the responsibility would and be on the town for the contaminated load for the higher costs.
How long has Middletown been doing this?
We started that July, so about 3 or 4 months. And nothing
Way too early to tell.
Yeah, way too early to tell. But the preliminary numbers are they are doing well with the yard waste, and we're getting into the slow season. So, it's hard to tell. I think you'd want to wait about 12 to 18 months. That's why I proposed the strict yard waste instead of the mixed organics, because I just didn't really have enough information to provide you folks to say, yes, this is a great idea, let's do it, gung-ho. I think that it's something that we should re-entertain maybe 12 to 18 months when we have some more data to support the curbside organics. But the good thing is, though, is if you did provide the carts to everybody, then they would be in place so that you could, in return, just say, okay, now we can start the program.
And under your proposal of, because right now we pay $8.50.
Right.
Then, so if we leased the trash can from you, you're talking $13.61.
That's correct, yes. You would retain ownership at the end of the 3.
Right, and as we talked about earlier, somebody wants to use one of the lids as a sled, or something like that.
Right.
Then the homeowner doesn't have to pay for it. That would fall underneath you to replace it, correct?
Right, we would discuss that in when we extended the contract. We would put the verbiage in there, how we would agree upon that.
So right now, that does not include.
I don't have that in the
replacement.
verbiage. No, I don't want to say it does or does not.
So that would increase then.
No, your cost is across the board. Whether we decide it's a cost to replace a can or we say it's included in the cost, we can negotiate at the time of the increase.
But the $13.61 does not include you replacing it, includes the homeowner to replace it.
Yes, it does,
Okay.
yes. Because you folks are retaining ownership of it. But if we retained ownership at the end, we do have a residual value where we could trash or scrap and retain costs. So then we would replace. But as you folks are retaining ownership.
When is the state of Maryland actually requiring that we do not put this stuff out there before the town starts getting fined? What is the time frame in that?
That's something that'll be addressed at the October workshop with Sydney. We'll give a state of the stormwater. You can address that better than me.
All right, but we are on the clock, correct?
And the rain tax, when you talk about rain tax, that's what this all involves. The rain tax in other counties is the same thing. Cecil County's just buying time until it hits, so,
Fair enough.
yeah.
And I think the ultimate answer is not to do this and for us to recycle our grass on our own lawns. I mean, I would love to see that, and that's what we talked about several months ago. If we could encourage our residents to mow their yard, leave the grass clippings onto the yard, as you can see, it could save us several $100,000 a year. And we could take that position and require that as the board also. I mean, that's another position that we can take as we lean forward. That we could address it, and that's the way it's going to be. Any other questions for Jeff or Dan? Thank you.
Thank you for coming in.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, is Mary here? Mary McGaw? Mary is not here. Okay, I'm going to, there's a proclamation, 18-2014 National Public Lands Day. Lou, did you want to talk about this at all, or are we just accepting?
I'm very excited about it, so I could read it into the minutes.
Very good. I'd love for you to read it.
Okay, this is a resolution by the mayor and commissioners, actually a proclamation for National Public Lands Day. Whereas National Public Lands Day is the nation's largest single-day volunteer effort to public lands and is coordinated by the National Environmental Education Foundation. Whereas America's system of public lands includes parks, unique landscapes, forests, wildlife refuges, historic trails, natural streams and wetlands, nature centers, community gardens, and other landmarks throughout our nation that individually and collectively represent our shared irreplaceable natural resources. And whereas public lands provide locally accessible natural and cultural resources for environmental learning, wildlife appreciation, recreation, and promote civic ideals that include shared stewardship and recognition of public ownership. And whereas recreation opportunities offered by public lands help families lead more active lifestyles and reduce the incidence of childhood obesity. And whereas the land conservation efforts improve access to public lands by urban residents and work to break down the barriers that prevent Americans from actively utilizing their public lands. And whereas alliances between private citizens, land managers, and community leaders improves the condition of publicly held lands for the greater enjoyment and enrichment of all Americans. Now therefore, I, Robert J. Alt, Mayor and Board of Commissioners, do hereby proclaim September 27, 2014 as the 21st annual celebration of the National Public Lands Day.
Fantastic. Do you need a motion on this, Lou, or we just move forward on
I think we
proclamation?
should make a motion.
Do we have a motion to accept the proclamation?
I so move that we accept the proclamation for Lamb's Day.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Motion carries. Thank you, Lou. Okay, Town Administrator's Report.
Okay, under my report, I'd like to, I sent a preliminary email to the board explaining that on September 3rd, we opened the bids for the influence screen system for the wastewater treatment plant. Actually, it's installed at the Big Elk pump station. We received 2 bids for that equipment, one from JWC Environmental out of California and Franklin Miller out of New Jersey. The initial recommendation or the award by the board was for JWC because they're the low bidder at $139,661 for this equipment, plus shipping and bonds that's involved in it. Franklin Miller, the higher bidder, $146,190, was put on the back burner, so to speak. Pursuant to receipt of these bids, I sent it to Intech Engineering for evaluation. They just sent me their evaluation and recommendation yesterday, recommending that the town pursue the higher cost equipment from Franklin Miller because the hydraulic efficiency of that equipment is much better, or would better suit the town's use of it at the Big Elk pump station. Consequently, I would recommend the board authorize the purchase of the equipment from Franklin Miller Incorporated for $146,190.
Do we have a motion to approve Franklin Miller's bid?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. That's all I have, I think, from my report.
Okay, real quickly with old business, I think what we did at the last workshop, what we're going to attempt to do is, I know the residents will have quite a few questions for us throughout when you get an opportunity to speak. There's a couple ways that we can handle it, and what we're attempting to do is to answer them at the very next meeting. And we did a wrap-up section at our workshop from our previous September 3rd meeting. On September 10th, we had a workshop, and we did a wrap-up section, which Lewis was able to rapid fire to us kind of the answers to some of the residents' concerns, and hopefully we were able to send some type of letter or memo to you, and it may not be the best answer that you wanted to hear, but we gave an answer. And that's what we're going to attempt to do. We're going to reply in some way to you. So I wanted to make everyone aware we kind of brought that up as a wrap-up, and that's how we're going to attempt to answer those questions. So if you have questions tonight, when we get to that point, we're going to answer them, have them answered by the next meeting for you, whether it's we do it here at but the next meeting isn't until the 1st of October the 1st, right?
Yeah.
So whatever questions we get tonight, we're going to try to reply to you as quickly as possible, but it'd be October 1st before we get to that point. I think we kind of addressed some of the Patriots Glens water issues. I had a couple emails that were sent to me about the low pressure, and I think there were some things going on at the Bell Hill Tower the last couple days, and I think that that was some of the problems that we were experiencing over there. I hope, whether low pressure or high pressure, so hopefully we'll be able to get onto that a little bit, Dan. I know there was a couple other items, but I'm going to defer everything to Mary Jo on my left-hand side here, if you have any old business before we move to the new business.
For old business, at the last meeting, we did discuss the people walking around the business districts without a shirt. Michelle, if you could check with MML to see if, I kind of Google searched and came up with different other areas, but if Maryland, if they could find us an ordinance in the state of Maryland about that, because we're trying to make things look nicer. When you see that and the shirt's in the back pocket, it just looks awful. So if you don't mind looking that up, I would appreciate it. Are we going to new business or just?
No, just do old, we'll come back to new.
That's all for old business.
I would just like to say that from the last time we was here, we spoke a little bit about the concert that was being given down at the park, and I thought it went along real well. For those who did not attend, it was a good experience to be able to see something come to the town of Elkton and be positive, even though there was a lot of speculation about that. The young gentleman, Andre Watson, I think he's done a real good job as far as putting together a group of singers and performers, and we went, I'm pretty sure the police officer, the chief could contest on this, but there was no incidents whatsoever. It was a great, besides the rain, it probably kept away some of the people, but it still went along almost 3.5 hours without any issues whatsoever. So I just want to commend him on a good job.
I'd just like to add, I think I stated afterwards, I'd love to see this where we can get more and more people involved and at our parks. And I know it's a huge cost to our town when we do those events. We had police protection out there, we had public works, we had some donated time by the emergency management service. They were giving their time. So believe me, we know how much the costs are that we do, and there were several hundred people there, but if we had several thousand people, I think it would feel a little bit better when you start looking at the dollar and cents cost of things. And we're at a very small scale now, and I'd love for this thing to really grow. And we can look at it and say, hey, it'll never happen in Elkton, but believe me, I believe we can do it. I'm a strong believer that if we want to do it, we can make it happen. And we can, and whether our residents ever want to come to one of these events, that's up to them. But I had a great time. I was introduced by Commissioner Piner, and I really enjoyed it. Charlie, you have any old business? Commissioner DJ, any old business, sir?
Yes. Let's talk, can we please put the parking meters to rest? Can we please? Seriously, we've talked about it. I just want to get it done and over with and get on to bigger and better things. So if that's old business, I'd like to talk about it right now.
I think it is. And if I could interject.
Sure.
I think, Lou, you'll have to tell us if we have to formally make a motion to do anything, but I think that if we just want to keep these things on vacation, the parking meters, parking enforcement in our downtown, my thinking was that if we could take those parking meters as well as the enforcement of the 2-hour parking and just keep it on vacation till the end of the year, I think we'll get a better understanding on whether we are having parking issues over on South Street or over onto East Main Street. We'll also understand whether the hospital is employees are parking in areas that are taking away from customers. We'll get an understanding whether our few store owners are parking in front of their properties. We'll get an understanding if the courthouse employees are parking up on the front side and taking away parking. I think we'll get a little bit better understanding if we can delay it, or not delay it, just keep on. Right now, quite frankly, we've been on vacation. I don't know if anyone knows we haven't been enforcing the meters, but we haven't. And Chief, do we have any issues? Help me know if you.
No, we don't. And in fact, I make it a point to get down there several days a week at different times. Make sure I can find a spot to park. I've never had a problem. We're not getting any complaints from citizens or businesses about lack of parking or people parking for too long.
And like I said before, status quo, I mean, the end of Main Street, it still has the elongated parking because the number of people that are in South Street still the same. You see 2 vehicles, and they're parked in the spots where there aren't any meters, so other than that, they're still there. But I think you want to come up with something conclusive before that.
I just, you know, if the board goes with it, I would vote against it. And I agree, you know, I saw the thing about business friendly, and I don't think that we're not business friendly because there's no parking meters in the business district at all. But we do have a captive audience. We have the hospital and we have the courthouses. And going back, taking a look at the town records of parking meters and parking fines on revenue analysis that was done by Steve, in 2009, both of them combined, the meters and fines totaled $128,000 to the town. And then last year was $53,000. So I don't know why there was, what was that, a $75,000 swing in 4 or 5 years. But if we do away with this, we need to cut back somewhere then.
Yep.
And as far as it limiting business downtown, I have to say again, I mean, you're talking 25 cents per half an hour, 50 cents an hour. Really, I mean, the bigger dilemma here is getting business or getting viable things downtown for people to come downtown and willing to spend that. Now, Bel Air, they have a courthouse, they have a captive audience, and they have parking meters around it. So it'd be no different if we want to compare ourselves to Northeast, if we want to compare ourselves to Perryville, we can, but they don't have a captive audience. They do have businesses, Northeast, Chesapeake City. That's the business district. We don't have anything in the business district. And I don't think that we could ever come up with a rule that is going to take care of 100% of it. It's not, but we got to get as close as possible. And then let the business owners, if you have so-and-so, once a whole bunch of businesses get downtown and you have the person next door has their employee parking out front, well, they can police themselves. You know, if it's a 2-hour issue or a 3-hour issue down in the business district, then let's change that. But as far as a revenue source, I'm sorry. I'm against that unless we're really, because again, 2014 is $53,000 combined. 2009 is $120,000, almost $130,000. So really, we get enough people downtown, the cost of an employee, 2 employees was what, $40,000 or $35,000?
And you had your
FICA and stuff like that, so it's just shy of a wash right now. But if we get more people to come downtown, then we're talking that we're ahead of the game.
And I really appreciate everything that you're saying, and I think that I truly believe that we need to do everything we can to encourage more of a business friendly, and then we still have the ability at any point to come back and enforce parking if we start having that problem and collecting that revenue. I think that when we have quite a few vacant buildings on Main Street now, and if we can as a town do anything to encourage business to come into that downtown and not hinder it, we're going to make out additional dollars on the personal property taxes that we're going to have from each of those new businesses coming into that property. So the user fee of that parking spot, to me, pisses them off more so than it's helping our picture right now. And I think if we can, and I'm not saying that we won't come back to that. In fact, if it becomes an issue, I'll be the first one to hold my hand up in the air and say, listen, let's bring the parking back. But until we get those businesses filled down there, and yeah, you know, the more businesses we can get, I can tell you that amount of revenue that's gonna offset from filling those stores up. That's my belief. Good, bad, or indifferent.
I don't see that it's prohibiting business downtown since there's no parking meters in the business district. So if you fill those vacancies, it's a moot point. I mean, the captive audiences we have, it's a revenue source, and it is I believe that it's a drop in the bucket. It's nickels, I get it, but a little plus a little is a lot, and I just don't agree with it. And if there's a parking issue of a 2-hour parking, change it to a 3-hour parking, something like that, and then enforce on the other side though too. There's places that we don't enforce right now.
Yeah.
I mean, we can take a look at a lot of different things. Also, the collection of fines in the state of Maryland. I mean, are we being aggressive with that? Are we collecting our money there?
Well, that would,
In Maryland, we always do, because you can't renew your registration unless that's paid. It's out of state, there's no reciprocity for parking out of state, and that's where we see our loss.
I had actually reached out to the city of Newark, and they have the same dilemmas as we do with their parking issues. What makes ours look, the amount of money that we're losing per se looks greater, the uncollectible money, because it's been on the books for many years, but the city of Newark said they write theirs off after 5 years. If they send 3 letters to the person and they haven't got the funding, or they haven't paid the bill, then they write it off. It's gone. It's off their books after 5 years. And we've had it on our books for probably since I served the first time. But I agree with DJ. I know it wouldn't be a putting it to bed completely, but how's the rest of the group feel? I mean,
I agree. When you had the workshop last week and you sent that email, I agree with what you had written in that email, was what you said tonight. And I think also what we need to remember, unless this board decides to do differently, we're talking about 8.5 weeks now, because we have covered the meters for the holidays and did not enforce parking from Thanksgiving till the first of the year. So to put it on, keep it on that holiday right now, we're only talking about 8.5 weeks, and then look at it in January and see if we do have a problem.
Again, it's not necessarily a problem of parking. It is a revenue source that we would have to give up, and then we would have to find it somewhere else when we have a captive audience now.
I understand.
Earl, any input?
I would like to keep it the way it is right now, based on, there's no issues going on. As far as the question was coming about police officers, if they see somebody in a handicapped spot, they can address that as they police their areas. That's what the police force is for. As far as businesses, when we get new businesses downtown, hopefully, like you said, we can change all this based on, as the businesses grow, the need for meters, or if we want to get away with the meters altogether. I'd still say I don't want to see any meters at all in the town of Elkton, but right now, if citizens just be a little courteous to the businesses that are downtown, and I think everything will run fine.
Charlie, any comment?
Pretty much like Earl, I would rather not see meters at all, except around the hospital. I traveled through Havre de Grace on last Friday. They don't have any meters over there at all. They have the 3-hour parking. I think somebody had mentioned that. I was in Newark the other night, and because of the way they have their businesses all through town and on their side streets, they have meters. That city is just metered. And I guess maybe, as Mary Jo was saying, you know, December's coming up. You're going to cover those for Christmas and Thanksgiving holiday. You know, maybe we can make a decision at the beginning of the year, a rightful decision that everybody can appreciate with. Certainly, I understand what you're saying right now. You know, you're losing a little revenue, but, you know, we need to make a collective decision on the part of the board that we all are satisfied
And
with.
it's not the next couple of months I'm worried about. It's the long term.
I understand what you're saying.
The long-term
I
effect.
understand that.
Lou, you don't need a motion from us, you got the consensus to
No, I have the highest law enforcement official here who's privy to all this conversation, so he can take the initiative.
Very good. Thank you. And we're going to look at it at the end of the year.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm done.
All right. New business. Let's see, I had a few things. while we're on parking meters, I do have some new business about parking meters. I'm glad you teed this up for me perfectly, and once again, this is one of those crazy pie in the sky thoughts that I kind of came up with, and it was along with the I sent this note out to the board that the city of Pasadena, California, actually was taking a group of parking meters, and they designated those parking spots that if anyone wanted to park in those spots, they would put their money in the meter, and that money would go directly to the homeless situation in the city of Pasadena. They modeled that off of the city of Denver, Colorado, because they got such a huge issue with the homeless population that they just needed to provide them as much help as they could. In fact, homeless is probably the wrong word, roofless, we'll say, for that, but they wanted to provide as much as they could. I wanted to take that a little step further. If we make that decision January 1st, and that's why I want to put it off, because I want you something else to think about. If we put it off till January 1st, and my thoughts are, maybe we could take a section of those parking meters we just removed and create a parking field. In this parking meter field, maybe we go to our 501c3 organizations, whether it's the Elkton High School Booster Band, or the Mary Randall Center, or maybe even Singerly Fire Company, but we would get them to decorate that fire hydrant in their colors. It would be a way that if parking is free in Elkton, but if you want to make a donation to any of them organizations for the free parking we're going to give you, and you could put your donation into that meter. Now, there's probably some people in here thinking, well, it doesn't really matter to me. I probably don't park in downtown Elkton anyhow. I don't come to downtown Elkton. There's nothing for me in downtown Elkton. But I believe it's going to change. I think it's kind of a unique thought. Even taking it to the step of the arts district that we have, maybe we keep those parking meters in front of the district court, and we asked, parking is free in Elkton, but maybe we designate those where a person could actually decorate that parking meter in their 501c3 organization, that donation, because we get asked all the time from Elkton Junior Football League, can you guys make a donation for us? Can you make a donation from the YMCA to us? But we would possibly be able to do that. Now, once again, it's a crazy thought. I want everyone to think about it and see if that has any merit. Maybe we can build off of it. Maybe the best thing to do is Rob, what are you doing? This could open up a can of worms here, but I think it would make it would show that we do care, and I think it'd be a unique thing. And believe me, people would come to downtown Elkton to see the parking meter decorated. That would become a little destination area. But I want to give everyone it some thought. I just wanted to make that comment while we were on parking. All right, the next thing, I'll get off that. I didn't see any smiles out there when it came to that. We had, I spoke to Mr. Donnie Hicks at Hicks's Funeral Home today, and we discussed a little bit about, and Chief, and this is actually for you, and actually it's not for you, but I'm trying to think of the lady from the Mary Randall House that came in here that evening.
Pat Marks.
Maybe, Michelle, we could get Pat in here, or we could ask Pat, how can we get, we've got a group of politely residents, I guess, that are at the corner of Stockton and North Street.
Yeah, by the Mary Randall House.
They're there prior to the opening of the Mary Randall House, and they're also there when I guess they shut down at lunchtime. And Mr. Hicks does have a business there, and I think it deters from some of his folks coming in. And maybe we can work with her. What can we do as a team to find a place for those folks before they go into the Mary Randall House? Maybe there's a way that we can work or find a spot that they could go in. Let's try to work it from that angle. Does it make sense? let's try to work it on a positive note. And I don't think they're doing anything wrong at this point. They're just, they're standing there, and it's a large group prior to going into the Mary Randall House. The Chesapeake City, Mr. Frank Very asked me if the town of Elkton was going to participate in the Conquer the Bridge. He hadn't received any information from us, but once again, Chesapeake City is doing a walk-run across the Chesapeake City Bridge on October 4th. Could you make sure you sign me up for that? It's our town picnic day, but I'll go down and conquer the bridge. And once again, I challenge all the rest of the group, if you want to walk the Chesapeake City Bridge, and believe me, I walked it many a times. When I was in high school with Bohemia Manor, I walked back and forth it many a times, but I'm going to pay to do it this time, I guess. So I wanted to give him a little plug for that. I wanted to mention, and I know Mary Jo will probably bring it up too, but our Elkton Fall Fest is this weekend. We start celebrating Friday night and into Saturday. I wanted to mention, once again, I'm getting in shape. I think if anyone heard earlier, I'm going to go on a diet on Monday. So we also have a walk run at 8 a.m. on the 20th, which is Saturday. And I'd like to invite everyone to participate in the walk and join Team Elkton as walkers, and let's try to make a difference to show our support as a team. And hopefully we'll get a large group. I wanted to mention that we will not be having a workshop next week. We had nothing on the agenda, and I think that we had a few things going on, so there won't be any meeting next Wednesday at 4 o'clock. I also wanted to mention Elkton High School is having the Tournament of the Bands competition on September 27th. It's going to be, currently there's 17 bands performing at the high school, and it's going to be approximately 1,000 people. So Mr. Litzenberg and Mr. Lemon, I know you live nearby over there, please either join or put the earmuffs on, because I think the final band stops playing around 9 o'clock, and at 9 o'clock we're having the award ceremony, and I'm going to do my best to be there. In fact, I've committed to be there, and I asked the board if you can make it for that also. Great. So I think it'll be a wonderful thing. There's I think that that's all that I have at this point. DJ, I'm going to start on your end with new business, if I could.
No new business.
No new business. Charlie?
At the Elkton Middle School on Friday morning at 7:45, I believe they have the Maryland School Breakfast Challenge. I think that's across the state of Maryland on Friday, 7:45 to 9. And if you can make it, certainly benefit our kids as well in this challenge. Up the middle.
No.
That's it.
They need to let them know that we're coming.
Yeah, Kelly Keith.
Kelly.
Over the Board of Education.
Earl?
I think you said everything.
Very good. Mary Jo?
I want to thank you for Fall Fest.
No, very
It is a
good.
big weekend. Everyone come out. It's great fun. There's something for everyone. I think because the weather is predicted to be so nice, our phone has not stopped ringing. So there'll be everything you can think of, crafters, vendors, food. And I do want to say, it sounds crazy, but we are going to be the first event in the county to have steamed crabs and shrimp out in the street. The B&B Seafood right here in Elkton has a steamer truck that they purchased, and it will now go throughout events throughout the state, but we're the first one that they have all their permits and things that they'll be attending. But lots of entertainment, something for everyone. So hope you all come out. There's books out there, as well as in the week today and Friday. Also, I do want to mention, there are a few downtown people here, but we are getting it together. October is Town Pink Month for breast cancer awareness. It's done throughout the United States. We just got in the pink gels. I have some extra if any business wants to put some over their lights. Let me know, and we're going to paint the town pink. So we're like the rest of the county. The hospital's doing it. Everybody's trying to do it this year.
Very good. That it?
That's it.
Okay, now it's public comment time, and when I call your name, I've got a list of maybe 8 or 9 on the list, and then, of course, I'll recognize anyone that's not on the list after I recognize this group. Please come up to the microphone, sit down, introduce yourself to us, and try to keep it on point as best you can. Mr. Ron Waldrop of 242 Douglas Street, come on up. You're the first tonight.
Kind of glad I thought I was going to fall asleep. When you get older, you know what I mean? The last previous 2 meetings, I really bragged on Mark. I still don't, I know his last name, but I just can't pronounce it, you know. Okay, but you do know it, yeah. I was in the hospital over the weekend, had a heart problem. I don't want to get into the whole detail, but I come home Monday, and my wife had to pick me up because I couldn't drive home. And she went in the house, because it takes me a little longer, you know, to get out. But anyhow, she comes back to the door, and she said, "Mark's out back." You know, Mark's out back. And, you know, I had a 30-foot tree that fell in the backyard onto the Housing Authority's fence, which an insurance company wouldn't cover because there was no structural damage, you know. I did have some fellows come out, friends of mine come out and took the bulk of the wood, you know, the trunk and so forth. I come out, Mark had a bobcat out there. He had a trailer out there. Him and 2 other men took all them branches.
Fantastic.
Now,
He's actually talking about Mark Azevedo.
I'm trying to think.
And I mean, it took them 3 hours. Took all them branches, you know. That's what I call a landlord.
Yes.
That's what I call a landlord. And he's not my landlord because I own my property. I was responsible for him. You know, I came down and the code enforcement officer wasn't here, so Chip said to me, Ron used to carry a couple branches out, because if I set them out on the street, it would block this whole street. I mean, there was probably 10,000 or 1,000 pounds of it at least. I'm serious.
Wow.
Yeah, at least that. And but he loaded it all up and disposed of it. And I was like, I was shocked. I was ultimately shocked. I mean, he didn't only do mine, he did the next door, which he don't own the property. He grew a very large bush, and he took that bobcat and smoothed it, you know.
Well,
I call that above and beyond. You know, what I'm getting at is I've seen over time achievement awards turn. I don't know if it's set up in the town that they have to recognize a landlord as, you understand what I mean?
Yes.
There's a lot of landlords in Elkton.
Yes.
A lot of landlords. Recommendation for, you know, an achievement, if you understand what I'm trying to say.
I'm following you 100%.
I mean, I was really beside myself. I really was.
Well, I will personally go see him and let him know exactly what you said.
Well, I intend on notifying the deceased wig, you know, I'm gonna write a letter.
That'd be nice.
And, you know, because it's worthy. I mean, and it ain't like he was standing there. They raked it. I mean,
I got
I
the
challenged you
picture.
to come out and
I
look.
got the
couldn't
picture.
believe what he did.
Yep, I got the picture.
You know what I mean?
Mhm.
I thought that was fantastic. Now, if I get a bill next month, it's $500.
Well, thank
No, I
you.
know that's not going to happen. I think that's all I had. As far as, maybe they ought to count on taking into consideration to recognize landlords.
I agree.
Linda that has some property over there, top shelf. She's a good landlord.
Well, thank you. I think,
Properties are all real good, and it makes that whole community, you know.
I know who Linda is.
Huh?
I know who Linda is.
Yeah, I'm sure you do. So that was all I had.
Well, thank you very much.
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And you know something, I do agree with Mr. Ron that we could, if we see, and we have actually started recognizing, when we go through the neighborhoods, our building inspector, when he goes through, and not only when we see things that are bad, but when we see things that are good, he actually sends out a letter now and compliments them on the quality of their yard and what they're doing. And I agree that that's something we could do. Chris, you're up, 3 Henry Lane.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Do you need me to state my name?
Yep.
Okay. Chris Yalskis, 3 Henry Way, Elkton, Maryland, 21921.
Thank you.
I have a few questions, and I got you, you're going to answer them the following meeting.
If we can't, we're going to try to answer them.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So you will answer some of
Oh,
them?
yeah, if we can, absolutely if we
Okay.
can.
I've been here for about 10 years. My wife and I fell in love with Main Street when we first moved in here. It was really nice, had some shops going on down there, the Howard House was there, Brothers Pizza, before things went awry. But in the past 5-6 years, things have started to go in the opposite direction, which is really concerning to me because we really do like the small town mentality, but I do understand you need to bring some businesses in here also. So I'm just a regular guy who pays attention to politics a little bit. I've run for office. I'm sure some of you know who I am. And I've been getting some information here lately that is just bothering me. I just want some answers. I have a few pictures that were sent to me, and these aren't the first time. Most of the time, you guys have never seen my face down here. I don't come down here and tell you my light's out. I don't say my grass is, if someone stole my bike. That's not what I do. But I had a couple pictures sent to me. And I made some copies if I can give them to you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because you're probably not going to be able to answer these tonight, so
Okay.
if I could, I'd like to give you the copies. Is that okay?
Now, are these photographs you took, or are they?
No, these are what was sent to me, so, I'd like to
Okay,
give them to you, that way you guys
yeah,
are,
absolutely.
and give me an educated answer
Well,
later.
we'll do the best that we can. Now, we may have to rely on our public works or town
Yeah, that's
administrator,
fine.
or our chief of police, or town attorney.
Like I said,
Yep.
Now, the way it was presented to me, the first copy should be the vehicle, I'm assuming that's Public Works vehicle.
That is not one of, oh, yes, it is, yes.
Okay.
And where's this area at, may I ask?
I'm pretty sure that this is the backside of where the Boys and Girls Club is now.
It's the Charles Brown property.
Okay, there you go.
That's what it's on.
But the way it was given to me, I just have a few questions. I see that the truck's parked there. One of my first questions are we doing the work on this property with Public Works, and is this a private residence?
I'm going to hand this off to Lou, and he could probably answer it better than I can. I don't know of us doing any work on any private residence, or is this a commercial property? Mary Jo, do you know?
Yeah, this is owned by the Maresca family,
Mm-hmm.
this property, and I don't know why the truck's there. One of the property manager is here in Elkton, Pat Ulrich. So the college is actually renting out that building at this time.
Okay,
So that's what I can tell you about that property that the truck's on.
okay. I mean, the reason that it was given to me is the person wanted to know if that was if we were doing, work on private property. with
Dan,
town.
you want to see the photograph? Maybe, yeah. Earl, can you give that to Dan?
And Chris, I would suggest that you, this is a positive. Tell that person that asked that question to call downtown, and they could answer that question for them.
Right.
Instead of going through you,
Yeah,
but just
I
that,
would like to hear from that
well, I'm just,
person as well.
okay, I'm just
sure
saying
they-
that.
Yeah, I understand. I'm sure they
Okay.
know that I'm comfortable asking.
Yeah, right.
Not everyone is comfortable doing this. That's
No,
true.
no,
And not
I-
everyone comes down here.
Exactly.
And is nice and can.
I understand, I'm just saying
appropriately.
that they're welcome to call
Right.
and ask that question.
Okay.
What type of truck is that, Dan, may I ask?
That's the back of the truck.
That's,
And what is that truck, what's that?
It doesn't sewer. Sometimes if you get a call, if there's a backed up sewer, we'll go out there and actually clean out the line to see what laterals we own, so.
So I guess to answer your question with the town truck there, you could have well been cleaning out the sewer.
Okay. Well,
Yes.
the reason, the digging in the ground, that's all. I
Yes. Was that us digging the ground?
don't know. That was another question. Is that town truck?
Yeah, I saw it's a very good question. Well, we'll find out.
Okay.
We'll have you an answer.
And like I said, you can go through it. It seems like it's, the first couple are the same place, it looks like to
Okay.
me. So I think we've covered that.
Yes.
And the only other thing, the last question that about the photographs is, and the only reason I'm asking this is because I don't know there. And here to me, this looks like an easement, but I don't know. Are we putting in piping for an easement here? I have no idea. But when I owned a townhome when I was younger, there was a 10-foot easement. So that's what it looks like to me. But if you could just get back to me and let me know what these
Okay,
are.
we certainly will. And I could look at Mark back here. Mark, do you know anything about it?
I can't see what you.
We can answer it, we'll answer it.
The first three pictures are the same place.
For some reason, I'm thinking that the back truck was working on.
I would like to know myself. They're great questions.
September 3rd.
It's an easement? Okay, we'll find out, and I promise you we will have an answer for everybody.
All right, thank you, I appreciate that. That was some of the stuff that I was getting. Like I said, I don't pay attention to a lot of that stuff. I know how it is to
So we
run for
appreciate you coming.
run for office and listen to some of the stuff that goes on. But something that really did bother me, and it's really the reason that I'm down here the most, is I got my hands on an email, and I don't want to give my source out. Because I'm afraid there'll be retribution here, and this is really pretty serious.
Then I would say that without having, John, I'm going to look at you to say if we should even have him read this email, if it's a stated.
Not an anonymous source.
Well, the email where I got it from is an anonymous source. The email has a name on the email.
Would be appropriate in a public meeting.
It's okay.
I have no problem with reading. I mean, it's.
There is a problem.
Can you look at the email, John?
You want to look? I have copies for everyone.
Let me see.
Why don't you guys look at the copies?
That would be great.
And an attorney knows that. Well, it's not really up to you, it's a legal precedent, anonymous information is just as good in a court of law.
That would place the record of the minutes.
This has something, this is a statement. I will not discuss that.
I make a motion that we don't discuss this. We can go in the closed chamber and discuss it if necessary, or we can put this in file 13, which is the trash can.
We had a motion. Do we need a motion on that,
No,
Lou?
you don't, but just to be sure.
I'm not sure what you need.
Right.
No.
No, we can't.
It's just a comment about the closing of a street. I mean,
No, that's not.
No, it's not. No, it's
This
definitely
is
not.
someone's personal information that,
No, it's not.
And it can't be thrown away. It can't be Section 8.
Yeah, this is a personal,
That's what
with a business. So I suggest that I would never give anyone's personal information out.
Gotcha. We're not going to discuss it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Chris, you were on here twice, was that?
Yeah, someone else signed me.
Okay, very good.
You can talk about somebody avoid something like this, right?
I just want to make sure you're not breaking the law. That's not lawful. Is it lawful?
Well, technically, he's already said that he can send a response if you don't talk about it now. You just-
Listen, we've got our town attorney here. If he thinks that we could talk about it, I don't think it's, he's reading it. If we,
This is,
It's somebody that typed in right.
well, we'll call a closed meeting afterwards and we'll address it and then we'll address it back to him. Mr. Richard Lemon.
Did he have a? I was gonna come in here and talk about you like a dog. You understand what I'm saying?
I'm not doing that. I just don't want to break the law.
This is something positive.
All right.
103 Walnut Lane, Elkton. I've gotten permission from Elkton High School for the town to show its videos to the classes. And that's a suggestion I made a couple meetings ago, and you all said it was a good idea. But it didn't look like anybody was going to do anything about it, so I did it.
Thank you.
thank you.
Can I ask you a question, being a former educator, did you go to the Board of Education?
No.
Get the superintendent, I don't know, well, go ahead, we'll talk after the meeting's over.
No,
And I think it's a good idea, but I think you gotta go from source
No,
one.
you
to
don't.
the- Okay.
you don't. I went my own route and I got it approved.
Very good.
And I'll tell you, you'll know how I did it when I, anyway, I've got permission to show the videos at Elkton High, or as my notes say, okay to go. This would be approximately in March or April, because they would go to the classes that are teaching about government, and they'll be to local government come March. Right now, they're, let's say, on federal government or some other government. But when they get, so, and there apparently will be several teachers involved in this, there's more than one class, the way I read it. Michelle, the contact is Mr. John Roush, R-O-U-S-H. He's the principal of Elkton High. The phone number is 410-996-5000. So whoever's going to handle this should contact him. He will set it up with the teachers and get that thing going.
Michelle, you got it? Thank you.
Now, I have a couple suggestions. When I brought this up first time, it was tying into the ideas that you had about videoing and everything, and also the ideas that you had that you needed more participation from students and other people. It seems to me when you, whoever goes up there, however you do it, that you should do some other things too. I would pass out a town organization chart. I would explain the functions of the government, like what does Public Works do, that type of thing. I would have some budget information. What I mean by that is I would explain briefly to the students what the revenue sources are of the town government and what some of the major expenses are. Briefly, not to present this budget, but just to explain how it works. There might be some conversation about intergovernmental relations between here and, let's say, the county or the state, because that seems to come into play, what I see down here. And maybe some brief comment on the code and how the code operates and why it's there. If you have time, I would even, something that really made a big impression on me was the chief's presentation of the organization of the police department. I would think anybody that sees that would find that really interesting. I found it very interesting, and it was presented in a way
that makes it interesting and is very informative. So that could be something that's already set up. Most all this stuff is all set up. You probably have organization chart and everything already. And then you all, my suggestion is you'll have a lot of videos between now and then. You already have allowed us to pick one that makes sense to present to a class. That's why I signed up.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, I'm going to say a couple more things
All right.
that I had.
The floor is yours.
Right, so is the microphone. This parking thing you all are talking about, my suggestion is that you form a committee and start now to look at the issue, because what I see happening is that you put it to bed and when you get to January 1st, you still won't have a solution. I think what you need to do is lay out, so I'm sort of over here with, is it JD? I'm
I'll
sort of,
accept that.
huh?
Yeah, I've been called that before too.
Or is it
Among other
DJ?
things, but it's DJ.
DJ, like the DJ that plays music. So my suggestion is that you form a committee of DJ, the police chief, people, a small committee, and that you work on it between now and the first of the year and come up with a structured plan as to how to approach this. Because I hear a lot of conversation, a lot of ideas, but I don't see a plan or an approach. And I think that's where you're all headed. I just don't think you're there. And I've heard some very good ideas up here. In fact, in your workshop, you had the approach that you took there on that, and the ponds was very good. It was thoughtful. You're taking a look at it. I like that idea. So I'm just, what I hear today, that's my suggestion on that.
Thank you.
Another thing I'll talk about, which I'll probably stop picking up my trash after I was making this comment, but the waste management, I support something like that, whatever it is, I just say. But if the way I look at these things is that if you hire on waste management and they do that, then you would need less employees in the public works to do what was being done before. Now, in a business, that's the way you would look at it. So I'm just making that comment. And the other comment I would make is that it would seem to me that you should pass some sort of a rule that is, after this all gets put in place, if somebody does put this stuff in the street, that they get fined. Or you have some enforcement rule. And just so, because it's a great idea. I think ever since you brought it up, I ride down the street and you pay attention to it when you weren't before.
Yes.
And everything you said is true. They do it on the weekends. They put it out because they're working during the week, all this kind of stuff. So I just think you need, again, you need to lay out you've got the nucleus of the plan. You need to lay it out and figure out how to work it out. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, Dion Atkins. Come on down. Thank you for your patience. She can come on up with you. Come on up.
It's easier. This is why I'm here.
That's a good point.
So my name is Dion Atkins. I live at 114 Whitehall Road, which is the 100 block of Whitehall Road between Delaware Avenue and Route 40, and there is a severe speeding problem on our road. I would say the average speeder goes probably 50 miles per hour or more. This is the second time I've been here about having something done. The first time I was here was probably 5 years ago when the older one was just in school. She's still in elementary school. And they did do a questionnaire down the residents for speed bumps, and I guess the residents did not want that. But what I would propose today is maybe a three-way stop sign be put in at Hurstone and Whitehall, which is midway point. which is actually would a stop sign would go on my property, which I would love for that to happen. There is a bus stop there as well, which is why I see most of it. And I even in the mornings take a little, I call him my slow man, but I think he's a safety patrolman or whatever. And I put him in the middle. There's a little manhole, I think is what it's called. I put him right in the middle of the road. You've seen it? That's me. And it probably helps about 7 out of the 10 cars to slow down. Some people are like, way to go. Some people are not happy about it, but they're still speeding. And even which is another reason I'm here again, about 2 weeks ago we had an incident because one of our neighbors pulled out of his driveway, was going the speed limit past the kids at the bus stop, and then the lady in a Mercedes, which is besides the point, was speeding down the road on her phone and not paying attention, almost rear-ended the man, the neighbor, and one of the bus stop moms, I guess, hollered out, slow down, I guess, before she hit him, and she gets out of the car, cussing and screaming, flipping us off with the kids at the bus stop. I mean, it was just not good. And she, even one of the mom who she was really angry with, was going to take her picture, and the woman said, "Go ahead, I'll pull my piece out of my car and shoot your."
Did you get a tag number?
No, because the mom was too afraid to get it, and it was literally so quick when that happened. She did come and she talked to a police officer. They said they couldn't file a report because terroristic threats aren't against the law in Maryland, is what she told me, is what they said. I don't know if that's really what happened because I'm not the one that was here.
Understand.
But that was like, your guys' last meeting was 2 Wednesdays ago. That was the Thursday morning following your meeting.
Wow.
So something needs to be done. I don't know if it's cost efficient to put the stop signs in. I know it's probably a emergency route, so speed bumps probably aren't the best thing, but something really does need to be done.
Chief, can you take a look at that area?
I mean, you
I
guys.
know you live there.
Yeah, he's my neighbor. I mean, he's across, I mean,
Her
you
little
have
sign works
grandkids.
fine.
You have
I mean,
grandkids.
Yeah, the little sign really picks out,
Drive like your kids live here?
Yes, that's me.
the little yellow.
Yeah.
Because I've seen cars, they'll be coming right getting us, and all of a sudden slow down. And
Yeah,
I
in the
know she
mornings,
has
but
it.
it's all day. It's just not, it's not safe. It is not safe.
Well, Chief will take care of this.
Absolutely.
Make us a
And
recommendation.
I don't doubt one word, what you're saying about speed. It's a wide open road.
It completely is. It even cracks me up tonight before we came, and you know how motorcyclists, and we love them, you know, they're all fun, but they're always the ones watching motorcyclists. I mean, you can hear them ripping and roaring up, and because it's a straight way, and there's nothing to prevent them from, but somebody steps out in front of them, they're gonna get hurt as well as a child or an animal for that matter.
Well, I'll see that we get some more enforcement up there and, be seen and try and act as a deterrent, and we'll take any enforcement actions.
I appreciate that. I actually got a brochure and we were talking about traffic calming at one of our previous meetings, and I had a resident actually send me where you can actually create the look of narrowing the road with highlighted markers. And we use those markers when we go around turns, but the perception is it kind of looks like it's tapering it down in those areas, which really does slow traffic. If we were able to put, and I don't know if we can on Whitehall, but if we were able to put, maybe there's a need for a pedestrian crossing area there, and you put a little sign in the middle along with that, and I'm not saying we're going that route, but
Right.
we're going to look and see what the chief has to say about it. But I agree with you. Listen, there's beautiful. There's no.
Yeah, there's nothing.
We have to do what we have to do to help
Yeah,
you.
for safety for
Yeah.
everybody. I mean, even turning into the driveway, sometimes it's like you think you're going to get rear-ended. I mean, it's scary living there sometimes, just for the speeding of the cars. So
Well,
I think
thank
I'm
you.
more highly a conscious of it because I do have kids. So, and this is besides the point, but I'm the owner of Elkton Jazzer's Ice.
Oh, very
And since
good.
you want to lose weight, we would love to have you. We would love to have you.
But I'd have to work doing that.
You said it twice, and I was like, I'm here. I've just got to say it.
Listen, I appreciate that.
All right. Well, thank you very much for
Thank
listening.
you.
Thanks for coming in.
Okay, Miss Margie, you are up.
I am up. Smile for the camera.
Mm-hmm.
Margie Blystone, 14 John Adams Lane.
Before I begin, I wanted to make a suggestion that we invite the Chesapeake City Mayor to do our run walk at our Fall Fest 5K.
That's a good point. Michelle, send him an email tomorrow.
Mayor, all commissioners, thank you for the opportunity to speak to you this evening. For those who might not know me, I'm Margie Blystone. I've been a volunteer to the town of Elkton since 1997. I'm an executive board member of the Elkton Alliance and chairman of Elkton's Arts and Entertainment District, designated by the Maryland State Arts Council. As chairman of our A&E district, I've been instrumental in the creation of one of our town's premier art venues, the Palette and the Page, which got its start 5 years ago with the help of the Elkton Alliance. It all started with an empty retail space, 6 adventurous artists, and $800. Today, the business boasts a 30% growth in revenue each year since it became an LLC in 2011. The Palette and Page is host to over 30 local artists, 12 local authors, and is the birthplace of the First Friday event. I come before you this evening to share with you and the community some of the advancements we are working towards in the Elkton A&E district. Since the introduction of the First Friday event in December 2009, which took place in a single venue, we now feature 7 venues, including Art Space on Main, Minnie Haynes, the Palette and Page, Cecil County Arts Council, Gracie's Cafe, Artistic Risk Studios, and Cecil College Elkton Station. With the average attendance at each venue consisting of approximately 50 plus people, 7 venues, times 50 means we have an additional 350 citizens and guests visiting our town. And the assessments are showing people are coming back each First Friday and they're bringing their friends. But there is so much more that needs to be done to support and foster this growth. Recently, we formed an Elkton Art Loop Committee composed of members from the 7 art-related venues, and together we are brainstorming ways to help the district flourish and grow. Jessica Price at the Elkton Alliance and I are currently working on First Friday promotional map wrap cards to be distributed throughout tourism locations in the county, and we're looking for funding to purchase banners to help attendees easily identify participating First Friday venues. We've also recently created an Elkton Arts and Entertainment Facebook page, which I encourage everyone to follow. I have little flyers for it, and anybody, they're on the front table, and I have them at my seat too. Let's see. By following us, you'll be able to be up to date on all the A&E related activities taking place, not only within our designated district, but also including A&E events at Elkton High School, and events benefiting the Elkton Boys and Girls Club. Because I believe firmly supporting our youth in their activities, we foster a sense of community in them, which will pay dividends to our growth in the future. I also welcome feedback through the comments section of the Facebook page. Mayor Alt, Commissioner Van Reenen, Commissioner Gibbons, Commissioner Piner, and Commissioner Jablonski. I'm here tonight because I'm asking for your continued support as we move forward in the growth of our A&E district. I ask that you support these local venues with your attendance to their events. Your participation gives further credibility to our hard work and shows us you value what we're doing. I'd like to personally invite you to our next First Friday event on October 3rd. Art Space on Main will be holding their Empty Bowls event, where over 600 bowls created by the Pottery Studio members will be for sale, with the proceeds benefiting the Wayfarers House Women's Children's Shelter. During the event, they'll be serving soup and bread donated by area residents. They'll feature live music and great hospitality. The fun begins at 5 p.m. and from there you'll be able to make your way around the Elkton Art Loop to take part in what the other venues have in store. Please join us. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm putting it in right now.
Yeah, one quick thing. Could you,
Yes.
our email addresses are on the Elkton website.
Mhm.
Could you just remind us, send us an email?
Oh,
Of the
definitely.
different venues or different times, things of that nature. And I would
Yes.
encourage anybody that wants us to show up for something, our emails are right on the Elkton website.
Most
Please invite us,
definitely.
let us know.
Most definitely. If you can also, if anybody who is on Facebook or has friends on Facebook can follow us, all of those events are listed on the Facebook page.
I liked your page the other day. I was a liker.
Thank you so much. I liked you right back.
All right, perfect.
All listed on the what's happening you all receive every week from the Jessica at the Alliance.
Yeah, what's happening? There's a Downtown Elkton Facebook page that lists the events.
Everyone's connected.
Palette and Page. Yeah, there's definitely cross-promoting, a lot of cross-promoting going on. So thank Thank you.
Thank you.
Michelle had a copy of what we read.
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Ray Waters.
Good evening, Ray Walters, representing Walt's Tavern. I live in Newark, Delaware. I wanted to start off by thanking Mayor Alt and Commissioner Piner for stopping by, spending some time at our business, understanding a little bit of what we do.
And I will make a
some bonding.
comment that Earl loved those wings.
Thank you.
He loved them. and
I heard he took some home too, right?
And I like the beverage I had. But,
Our Coke is a little better than
There
most
you
of the
go.
other. I heard a couple comments tonight, so I wanted to thank everybody about that. About that, I had an opportunity to attend my first Alliance luncheon. Met a few new people at that. I could both help and could help me. At different times tonight, we talked about painting the old tanks at the water treatment plant. Somebody referred to the old infrastructure. Somebody said send a letter and a memo, and in the last 100 words, send an email was probably mentioned about 6 or 8 times. Recently, of course, with our building expansion and getting permits and going back and renewing our license for our business, I looked at the forms. I think 1949 is probably the year they were done. There is nowhere on there for email. So y'all are doing emailing. Mary Jo, we talked about the business. People didn't know we were there, didn't do it. There's a lot of room on these papers and these forms for an email, for fast communication, for firing it out, for getting information back and forth. So everybody here is talking about you're with the times, but I don't think our forms are with the times.
and what's Mr. Waters is talking about, he just came in, they're going to do an expansion
Yes.
of your business and taking over an additional, how many?
1,500 additional 1,500 square feet.
An additional 15, and he came in and.
Probably another $30,000 in taxes, I might add.
I'm loving this. And I want to say that you went through the process and maybe there's some suggestion you could give us to streamline, and one is email.
One was email, and I do want to say, I'm a good person to complain, but I also like to say thanks and acknowledge people for doing it. I don't know his last name, but Cliff over in the planning, and if that's
Chip.
the right, Chip, I'm sorry, Chip over there. What a gem you guys have in him. We had some issues and stuff. He came out, walked me through it, spent the time I needed to understand it and our things and all like that. So I really want to say triple plus to that man for the job that he did. Really worked with us and helped us with no shortcuts with the man, but I mean he really helped us with that. But that was the biggest thing, really to update, because as I looked at all these and tried to get an email address to communicate, I just thought it would be really good. And somebody from one of these departments, there's no reason why the blast can't go out. I mentioned, gee, we're here 18 months, nobody came out and talked about it. If everybody, a lot of people didn't even know we were there. That would solve that problem with new businesses, and it wouldn't hurt when things like the Fall Fest is going on. You can blast this out to all the businesses and everything like that. So to me, it was just really a way to kind of bring us up to the times,
Yeah.
With some of the older departments, infrastructures, maybe type things.
I appreciate that.
That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. I know in my business, we'll send out, I fill out a lot of co-op request forms for the businesses I represent. They're all, as you fill them out, you can fill them out right online, save it, and then send it. And instead of actually physically handwriting a lot of these forms. So I don't think that we offer that today, do we?
No, we did try to do some, and I know very little about this. We did try to initiate some online fillable forms, I think it's called,
Mhm.
when we switched over to the Newtown website. And I know that there, for some reason, and I cannot explain why, but there was quite an issue with trying to get.
I'd like to find out, because it's a simple Word document. You just fill it in and save it and email it.
Is it part of the package we're already paying for through the website?
Is it part of the package in that we would have fillable
Mhm.
forms? To my knowledge, no, but I
Okay.
don't want to say that definitely without knowing for sure. I'll contact them and find out what we can do.
Thank you. Dave, you're up.
Last but not least, Dave Fordyce, 115 Osage Street. As it appears to me to be becoming the usual thing, as the mayoral meetings go on, there's more and more that I have to talk about. But let me just start this off with saying that I have a good friend who's a neighbor of mine, and he lived in a duplex at 109, I believe, and 111 Osage Street. Burned to the ground, just about. It's still standing, but there's nothing left. He was able to recover his teeth. He has dentures. His wife was able to recover her wedding ring. They lost their birds, but all the kids and everything got out okay. So I know the Red Cross was coming by, and I saw them there during all this when it was happening. However, if there's anything the town can do, these guys are homeless. I know that they're in a hotel for 3 days, and I don't know what's going on after that. If there's anything the town can do, I would personally appreciate it.
Thank you.
Second item is, I hate to come here and complain, but I'm here to complain. This is a piece of paper that lives on the side of my refrigerator, and it has to do with brush collection and grass clipping collection. And I can tell you that the same brush pile and logs are across the street in front of my house that were there here the last time I was here 2 weeks ago. So I don't know if it's weekly or however often it's supposed to be, but I think it's more often than it's happening, so I would request that the town take care of that. Let's see, third thing is, I understand that the street was blocked off because of the fire and everything, and we put our trash out, and then we called the town and they said they'd be by to pick up our trash, and they did not come by to pick up our trash. And the only reason I'm complaining is that we used to have twice weekly trash collection. Now it's down to once a week, and now, you know, with that it's every 2 weeks, and things get ripe.
I understand.
So I would ask that more diligence be applied there. On the parking meter debate that I've heard the last meeting and this meeting, respectfully, I would ask that, you know, I'm a citizen of Elkton. I'm not a revenue source, okay? So it's offensive to me when I have to go downtown in a small town like this and go look for parking. If I go down to Woody's in Northeast, I don't have to worry about a parking meter. To me, you really need to do an assessment of what you get revenue-wise from a parking meter, from the image that presents to people that maybe don't come here every day. And my vote is to get rid of the parking meters. Second item is I heard with some dismay the discussion with now having to buy a new trash can for grass clippings. I don't see what the issue is there. I don't see the need for any more enforcement, as the older gentleman said. You know, we put our stuff out like we're supposed to do, and the town's supposed to come by and get it. Those are the services we pay for. And, you know, that's what I have to say about that. And the last thing is, it's 10 after 9. Thank you guys for hanging in there for a couple hours. I know what that means to do that. Thank you.
Thank you, Dave. Okay, anyone else have anything to say? Yes, Mr. Litzenberg, could you come up and give your name? And I know you got a few words to say tonight.
It's more questions than anything else. Bob Litzenberg, 105 Lane, Elkton. You're discussing replacing or restoring a valve for $1,200. So you'd have pressure coming from the reservoir up at Red Hill. $1,200 is a lot of money, but it's not a lot of money when you've got Ken Benner and Mark Turnbull that are professionals in this field recommending doing this. And I didn't hear anybody make a motion to pay for it or whatever. It seemed like it was just tabled. We're back in the situation again with artesian water. The water lines that they're using to go out to the Meadowview plant, who owns those water lines? I mean, they go through the town of Elkton. Does the town own those, or does Artesian own that water line?
Can you answer that,
There's
Lou?
no lines that are used by Artesian for that. They have their own line that runs next to Dixie Line Road. It goes out, it's not even in the town. That's where they're.
So it runs down Dixie Line Road and then comes up.
It comes,
Through the easement.
across, the Pico right of way at 281, and then goes up Dixie Line Road and out through Delaware. That's how that line runs. I was there when they constructed it.
Okay, well, that answers that question. And it was said that if they have a problem with the water, they can use United Water as a backup source to them. Now, if I remember correctly, when Kenny Simmons came in here about the same situation on Dixie Line Road, he was told that United Water was not licensed in the state of Maryland. Evidently, they've changed their licensing or something because of
That's
a
a
backup.
That's a good question.
The Artesian Water, which is in Delaware, has a reciprocal agreement with United, and they can switch water back and forth as necessary. United can give water to Artesian, Artesian can give water.
Can we use United?
No. We don't have a way to connect to it.
I really think it's time that you've got a fresh lawyer here in town right now. And I think it's time that somebody, he's got a fresh mind as opposed to the old contracts that were done by Artesian. And I don't think I'm the only one that thinks that the town got a royal agreement on this deal with the contract you signed with them, the first contract. With the additional water that you had to purchase, blah, blah, blah. If they can't supply that water to the town of Elkton right now, does that void their contract?
Well, you and I are thinking on the same lines with that, and I guess we gotta see if they can supply, and that's why I really want to see if they can, because if they can't, then we're gonna go right to Mr. Downs and see how he's got it written down.
First note I made tonight.
Yep.
What was that? Couldn't hear you.
First note I made tonight.
Good.
We got that contract.
Because after all, you're paying them close to $350,000 a year for water.
Yes,
is what
we
you're
are.
paying for. And I think it's time that the town hasn't really gotten answers on some of the questions that have been asked here before about the water, and I think it's time. But if you're talking $1,200 to redo a valve, I don't think there should be any question. I mean, Ken and Mark, they know water. They know what they're talking about. And Earl asked a question where you ought to have more input or something on it. I mean, I understand what you're
The
saying.
question I asked was the negative part that through this conversation that wasn't relayed to the board. They both came in and I set them both together. We got an answer from that.
I
So
understand that, but what I'm saying is, these two guys, they're the ones that run your water treatment plants. Mark
do.
runs the public works as far as the sewer lines and so on and so forth and whatever it may be. And I think, if I were sitting on that board right now, I'd have made the motion to take care of the $1,200. Because that's a lot of money, but it's not a lot of money.
No,
You're
no, I
talking-
don't think
talking
we're
about
arguing
what
that
you're
side.
talking about. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Lemon, you had something else to say?
I've heard comments about Public Works, and I think they should be commended for doing a super job. After that storm, anybody that rode around town knows what had to be cleaned up. And this gentleman mentioned that his place was missed, but overall, I think it was a great job, and they should be thanked for doing the job.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am, come on up.
Don't bounce like I used to.
Pat Opal, 137 Milestone Road. Oh, back to the grass clipping thing. Apparently, it seems like in less than a year, there's going to be basically just a stoppage. You cannot put your grass in the curb. Why can't Elkton, at the end of this year, say, this service is no longer available?
We can.
It's an option.
Because if you're talking about getting cans, okay, you're not gonna be able to go to every homeowner and say, okay, do you need this can, don't you need the can? I'm already being charged for water I don't use. I don't wanna be charged for a can I'm not gonna use.
That's a very good point. I want to promise you, my goal is to have everyone keep their grass clippings on their yard. That's a
Why
win
can't we
for
just
us.
keep it as simple as that?
And we can do that.
When you buy your next mower,
It-
make
it-
sure it has a mulcher on it.
It was
And
very
even if it
important,
doesn't,
though.
if you don't let your grass grow that high,
It was
it's
very
not that
important to get this quote tonight so people can realize how much it costs us, which is over $200,000, to pick up grass clippings.
Yeah, oh, I
And
understand.
it's a lot of money.
Okay, that's all I had to say.
Thank you, Pat.
Thank you.
Anyone else have anything to say tonight? Yes, sir, come on up.
Thank you. Bob Gorman, 113 St. Louis Drive, here in Elkton. I hadn't actually had any prepared notes, but a couple things came up while I was listening. One thing I wanted to commend the board for trying to find a peaceful solution to the problem at the Mary Randall House, and it stares us in the face as you drive by. It's a gorgeous old house with a giant porch. I have porch envy. Okay, it's covered, it's beautiful, and the only way that they could be having a problem with their neighbor is that, as I see in the morning when I drive past, all the guys are hanging out in the driveway at the back of the house. Very simply, they could use the porch.
And I think you're right on target. And I think it just,
And it's something that hopefully the town can kind of push these two people together on and not have to have a major involvement in. Secondly, again, on the grass clippings, I know there are many that beat the drum of privatization. We need to remember what's the concept that drives privatization as a good thing. It's only good if, in addition to a private company being able to make a profit for their owners, they can decrease cost to the point where it costs less for them to deliver a service than for the municipality. And so we need to be careful about that. It's not a cost savings if we turn around and say, oh, we can take $350,000 out of the budget, but we then transfer it on to the citizens in the form of another fee. That's just a transfer, and that violates the basic tenets of cost-benefit analysis for government programs. Lastly, we're here again hearing that Artesian cannot deliver. I think, when I first heard of this, whether it was with the town and the county, I was just reminded after having moved here, having lived in Delaware from 84 to 97, it was very clear to me, just from my own personal experience, that Delaware had drought restrictions far more often than we had in Cecil County. So the supposition that Artesian was going to deliver water far better than our municipal workers were doing just was not supported by the evidence. So be that as it may, I'm sure you guys are going to look into things and see what you can do. But there's another little piece that bothers me. If we're worrying about being between a rock and a hard place about delivery of water from third parties, then I think the last thing that behooves the citizens of this town is for you to require the development over at 302 West Pulaski Highway to take their subterranean 5 by 10 foot room that has a commercial well in it and fill it with cement so that it will be lost to future citizens. It doesn't matter who owns it. You're not negotiating cost right now, but having it filled in so that it's lost and leave us in the situation where we might be drilling dry wells trying to find water when we know that this well hits the Potomac Aquifer is just kind of silly. So I would urge the board to look at the planning for that property and make sure that that well is not lost to society.
yeah, I hope we can, it's private property. It was so it's the Wawa property. It will be the Wawa.
NPE we already evaluated that with the Maryland Department of the Environment. It's not suitable as a public well.
That's not true. You never, it flooded the community behind it the last time it was pumped. It was never pumped to capacity, and it's been used and tested by the health department and allowed to be used for the last 20 years. So if you're going to now tell all the citizens of this community that that well is not suitable for public water consumption, that's a really hard thing to swallow.
No, what we did was substitute the need for a well down there with well number 5, which is only 100 and some yards away, which is permitted, which will give us our 100,000 gallons a day.
Is it in the same aquifer?
Mm-hmm. We've already got a permitted well nearby.
Yes. You probably didn't.
Oh, you probably didn't know that. Okay,
Yeah.
yes, I'll bring you up to speed. Now, it took me a second to catch
Well,
on.
number 5.
Right by our wastewater treatment plant, between, right there on Route 40, we have authorized well number 5, which is drilling into that same aquifer, and it's going to produce.
It's already permitted by the state. It's a matter, we just get to build the well.
So we are pulling that water, and we're not
Good.
going to lose it.
Okay.
We won't lose it. And-
Great.
And I just want,
Straw at a different location, that's all.
and I don't want to bore everyone, because I know it's getting late, and we probably have some more talks, but while we're on the water and the artesian thing, it's my understanding, correct me if I'm wrong, but it kind of goes back to 9/11. When 9/11 hit, there was some new regulations that came out and basically said that municipalities have to have in reserve, what percentage?
We have to have a backup supply for our largest producer, which is our treatment plant. In other words, we have to have some source of water if that plant fails.
And what percentage is that, 25%? 20?
No, it's greater than that. It's, you see, it produces 1 million a day. You know, so, yeah, well, it has to be 100% of that.
It's a large amount. So the agreement with Artesian wasn't a bad agreement to hook in to give us a reserve. The issue with the Artesian agreement was when a drought was called, it kicked into this agreement that the town had to pay for 250,000 gallons a day.
Yeah, because we have to have at least for up to 110 days.
So I would love at some point to maintain the Artesian connection, but to get it to where if we're not using their water and we have our own backup, and like you said, that near the Wawa, that was one of our water sources that we've started to put together as backup. But you're right on target with that.
We've paid fines in the last couple of years for using more than a certain amount. And now you're telling me that we've had a well there all along that we could have pulled off
We
of?
just had it permitted. Well, number 5 was just permitted.
It was probably permitted within the last,
About a year?
yeah.
Yeah, because now we have to build the well house.
And we've actually dug a couple wells out toward, actually behind Redner's, that we're trying to get on board here at some
That's
point.
permitted too.
It's permitted, and so we've done a lot of this after that fact, but this requirement didn't come up into effect until, what year did it come into effect?
2006
or 7?
Somewhere in that neck of the woods.
So hopefully that answers it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else have anything to say?
Real quick on the Artesian thing. I know
It's
they
Pat
said-
Opal.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
All right.
I know they said they're gonna go back out and test it or run tests on it. Is it gonna be like a pop quiz where they don't know you're coming, or are they gonna be given fair warning?
Well,
Yeah.
They have to be given notification.
Well, then why, then that means they can just make sure that day that it's there.
That's what we want them
And
to
then
do.
the
We
next
want them
day-
to make sure that they have water for us.
Yeah, but then the next day you can go back out and it's back to where they found it.
Well, we could do it for 3 consecutive days, and if they fail, they're gonna be pulling water from another source, and those folks are gonna fail. And they'll know pretty quickly.
Okay.
Mr. Litzenberg?
You said you already tested it 4 times. If it tested 4 times and you didn't have the capacity, what makes you think you're gonna have it if you tested
I
it 5th
agree
time?
with exactly what you're saying, but we are gonna make them aware of it, and we'll see what happens.
One question. People out on Route 40 that have water that they're buying from the county, okay? I think they told me that Artesian's supplying water to the county and they're buying it from the county. Now, there's water lines that run out there. Where does that water, I guess my question is Artesian running water from the Delaware line all the way down Route 40 out towards, was it not Wawa? You know what I'm talking about, Wayne Norman's place?
Yeah,
No, that's town water, but they buy it in
The
town.
water supplied to
Artesian buys water.
Route 40
They
in
buy
that
Artesian does?
area.
Yeah.
Route 7
Yeah.
is supplied by Artesian. Artesian buys the water from the town of Elkton.
So they buy water
The
from
county
us.
doesn't- The county is no longer in the business of water.
And sells it to them cheaper than what we're paying for it here in town.
No, they buy it outright, out of town rate.
Yeah, they're buying it, they're actually, I think,
it
paying it
costs them
higher.
more to buy it from us than they're producing.
We are actually charging them the out-of-town rate, and I know it's more than what they're charging us.
Yeah,
Well,
way
we
more.
have a conversation with somebody in the mornings, and he's telling me completely the opposite, because he pays the bill. Now, we'll check it out again.
Yeah, we will.
You know what I'm talking
Yep.
about?
Out of town.
Well, do I hear a motion to adjourn? Motion?
Second.
I'd like to call a closed meeting to discuss consult with legal counsel.
Very good. We're going to, so what we're going to do first is close this meeting, and then we're going to call a closed meeting.
And we will not reconvene.
And we will not reconvene. So we're going to, all in favor to close this meeting?
Aye.
All right, motion carries. Now we're going to make a statement for a closed meeting. We have a motion for talking to council. Mary Jo, you made that motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
And a second by Charlie. Any discussion with regards of it? All in favor? Aye. We're going to ask everyone to leave the building, and we're going to have the meeting in here.